Hello, and welcome to episode 45 of Flix and the Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the Canadian Mountie, Alessandro Bielsi. Say hello, Al.
Honestly, I'd rather fuck a moose.
Yeah, I expected the accent, but
I cannot do that very bad Canadian accent.
That was rough. On this week's episode, Arrested Development gems, Infinity War fallout, Deadpool 2 marketing genius, all before our flick of the week, Super Troopers 2. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
You know, I realized I should have included something about Deadpool. I didn't realize you did. I didn't watch.
Oh, boy.
I saw a bit of the Celine Dion video. I just didn't have, at the time I saw it, I didn't have a chance to watch all of it, and I didn't get a chance to circle back around.
Well, I'm glad because I get to tell you what happens at the end of it.
Fantastic.
Which will be good. There's beer. There's beer in places. Tell us what we're drinking.
Places. We are drinking.
I'm going to try and find a cloth.
We're drinking Two Roads Espressway Cold Brew Coffee Stout. It is a coffee steeped in oatmeal stout. 6.5% alcohol by volume.
This is going to keep me up, isn't it?
No, because it's cold brewed, so I don't think you'll have the same caffeine content.
Or it's super concentrated.
Or that. What it says on the side of the beer is, and I checked online.
It's not going to end the way you think.
Oh, nice. In a process unique to Two Roads, we mixed a locally roasted Ethiopian/Sumatran blend of beans with a rich oatmeal stout under pressure. In parentheses.
Does it say that in parentheses? That would be amazing.
Like espresso, but without the steam. Close parentheses. Using our German-built Brunick device. That's in quotations.
Brunick.
The mixture is steeped for several days, resulting in a true cold-brewed coffee stout. Hop on the Two Roads Espressway.
Nice.
Cheers.
Cheers, sir.
Oh, very nice.
That is very coffee.
That is one of the more coffee of all coffee beers I've had.
I'm going to be honest. I think it's just Manhattan Special.
What's that?
I think it's just Manhattan Special. There's no beer in here.
Oh. Yeah, no, I mean, it's...
I'm calling it. I'm going to need a chemist.
You know what? No, we'll just drink the rest of the 6-pack and see what happens.
I like it. Look at you. The little experiment action.
It's tasty.
This is really good. This is
Yep.
It's very, very coffee-y. And I don't mean that in a bad way though. It's like you can have like coffee flavor and it just be you're trying too hard.
Or it's coffee on the nose but you don't really taste it. Or
right.
It's very subtle coffee. No, this is a coffee stout.
Like you could probably get away with putting a splash of cream in here. Like that's like
yeah,
and it would be delicious.
Oh, you could
Bailey's. I think I need to go upstairs.
We could do Bailey's, or you could do a little bit of cream and a splash of Kahlua, and this would be some sort of in the realm of a White Russian.
How many of these do you have left? I think we have another drink for this weekend.
I have 4 more left, I believe.
We might have to make that happen.
You know what this means? This beer.
What's that?
It means that in 2018, I am much like LeVar Ball. I am undefeated. I've never lost.
Well done. That deserves a round of applause. I can't. I would clap for you, but then it would just sound weak. So let's just imagine it. There you go. Ah, he's this is great. The best is that was just a show Al put on for me that you guys can't see, but it was very much like a wrestler just bringing in the crowd. It was. It was well done. I'm sorry you missed it. So the first thing on my list here to talk about is actually this little Arrested Development gem that popped up. Now, you had shared a couple things with me. One of them I saw, the other one I didn't, and I stumbled upon it myself later on, which is pretty great. They're released. As of you hearing this, they will have released a recut of season 4, which is very welcomed by me. I mean, if you
by
like
pretty
us,
much everyone.
yeah, if you like us, if you like the show, I'm sure you like Arrested Development. But it's no surprise that fell flat. You know what's funny, and we kind of talked about this a little bit before the show, but to have something not go well, but then not just have it like be flamed by people that normally love the thing, like that just shows you, I feel like, the caliber of audience that was watching Arrested Development.
Well, there was plenty of people who complained about it, but I think what it came down to, and it's what I said to you before we went on air, was I think they were open throughout the whole process, even before it came out and disappointed people.
Right.
And people who are in the know understand they had a really hard time getting the whole cast together to shoot this show.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of a surprise that it came back, all that sort of stuff. So I think people were a little forgiving, and rightfully so. And they've always taken care of their fans with this show.
Absolutely.
And it's a really, really good, carefully created show. So I think, and it was a bold thing they tried to do, especially it's easy to kind of forget about this, but when that season came out, it was 5 or 6 years ago, right?
Yeah.
That was at the beginning of this whole like binging craze, and they tried to get out in front of it and create a season specifically to be binged, and that was honestly part of the reason why it fell a little bit flat for me, because I did enjoy it, and at times, and it still felt like Arrested Development. There were still some really funny things continuing on, where this show is like from start to finish is kind of a tapestry. Everything is connected in some way or this, and so their attention to detail is incredible. If I had binged it and watched it over the course of a weekend, I probably would have enjoyed it more than I did. As it was, I watched it over the course of probably a couple of weeks. So just the way it was broken down, not in chronological fashion, where certain episodes stretched across like 18 months of show time, right?
Right.
I just forgot about some stuff, and that's why some of those intricacies didn't work for me.
Sure. I can see that.
I actually knocked it out
stopped.
over the course of the weekend, I think I would have appreciated it
held
bit
on
more.
to it. That totally makes sense. And I'm happy with. I'm glad that they did it at all. Like they could have opted to not do the show. Like that would have been perfectly valid. But they did it. They did it for the people that love it.
For like 8 years before that, they hadn't.
Right.
They hadn't done the show.
And what's awesome, like I fell off of it, and I was like, I felt I was always going to go back to it at some point, and there was always this rumor that they were going to release a recut, and I was like, maybe I'll hold off until that. And it's actually here now. Like that was something that was delivered, and again, they don't have to do that. Like they really don't.
So you never finished it?
No, I didn't. I only got like maybe 3 or 4 episodes in.
Okay.
And I couldn't. It didn't grab me.
That was what you had to do the legwork for. If you could get past about 4 or 5 episodes, you're going to be in, because it finally does all start to dovetail together a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's funny. Like it was funny, and it did feel very Arrested Development. It was missing one key aspect, and that was switching between these characters that you get each of them in each episode, and you just weren't getting that. And I'm just glad that they were able to do this, because this is just going to be really fun. I can't wait to go. I actually think I'm debating not just watching the recut season, but just going back and starting over and just playing it all the way through, because I feel like that'll be fun.
I don't know if I have time to do all of that, especially because as it is, like, I'm getting close to being finished with The Wire, and I usually pick one show to churn through like that at a time.
Yeah.
And I might have to put that on hold just for the 4th season of this.
That's fair.
Redone.
Well, you've also already seen it all, so that's not really that
true. But honestly, I've forgotten a decent amount of it, because it was several years ago, and even during watching it, I was forgetting bits of it. Because like at the end, because they've already released what the new season's about.
Okay.
And it's having to do with it's in there. So like it probably was in the story you read about the recut.
Mm-hmm. I didn't read it. I specifically only read that it was happening and the date. I didn't go into the details. There's
something that it builds up to at the end of the season as all the stories start to reconverge, that there's one central event. I will keep it as a spoiler, I suppose, for people who don't wish to know.
Yeah.
Although it's easily accessible because it is the central part of the plot. But I'll just put it this way: someone goes missing at the end of the 4th season,
Okay.
and this new season is dealing with the disappearance of this person.
That's cool. That'll be fun. I hope it's Blue Tobias. Because I know where that one is.
Yeah, the collector's got him.
That is great. That is just such a. I keep seeing. I don't know if you've noticed this, and this segue is nice. You know what? Let's pause for a second because I'm going to get back to Blue Tobias and segue out of here. But the other piece of this Arrested Development news was another thing that you had shared. This is the thing you shared with me, but I found on my own afterwards. And when we were recapping before the show, you had brought it up again, and that is the Arrested Development style Star Wars trailer, where Ron Howard did a voiceover for the original Star Wars, and it is animated and drawn on in the classic Arrested Development intro, and it's just so funny and so stupidly simple. Like it's just well done. It's everything that you want Ron Howard to do with this solo movie,
really,
but he can't actually do.
So incredibly on the nose that the whole thing with George Michael and Maybe, and they handled it exactly the same way with Luke and Leia.
So good.
Is so incredible.
And then just awesome callbacks for fans. Like they pan to Boba Fett and go, Mr. F.
Oh my god! Which you know is one of my favorite things.
Oh yeah, it's just so silly. If you're a fan of Arrested Development and you're a fan of Star Wars, go check that out. It's super easy to find. It's just very silly and worth the 3 minutes of your time that's going to take. It'll make your life better. So back to Tobias, Blue Tobias. Let's talk a little bit about Infinity War again. No spoilers. We're just going on with the press that's following this movie. The first fun thing.
There are so many memes already.
There are, and for me,
very spoilery.
It's the more subtle things that are really funny and really great, and that is where the Tobias comes in. There have been at least 3 articles that I've come across that had nothing to do with Easter eggs, nothing to do with spoilers. It was just general news about the movie. No actual mention of this thing, but Blue Tobias is the cover photo.
Wow, I have not seen any
of
those.
And it's just really silly. I don't know if it's intentional or what, or if it's just they've been grabbing from this pool of images around it and using it, which is a thing that can happen, but it's not referenced at all in the articles, and it's just it'll be Thanos and Blue Tobias, and it's a quick review of the movie. It's just so silly.
It's funny because Arrested Development exists in this weird space in the zeitgeist because when it was at its most popular was when it was airing was really before the internet was a big thing. Mm-hmm. It was sure as shit before there was any social media. So there was no collective space to discuss it in that way. And also it's one of those things where it's you stumble upon someone who's a super fan of it that you had no idea before. And then it just becomes this whole thing, where you're just trading things and that, and people and I realized before I actually went back and watched the show all on Netflix, I didn't realize how many jokes and references were about that just went over my head for years.
Mm-hmm. It's so good, it's so good. So to the press around Infinity War, there's a lot of things that I've been reading, negative comments about the movie, and they kind of just rub me the wrong way because a lot of them feels like it's inevitably when you see a big thing like this come out, there's people that just want to be blah about it. They like to hate what other people love. And I'm perfectly okay with you having valid criticisms of the movie, but just argument for argument's sake doesn't work for me. And I don't.
Are you talking about that story from the New Yorker?
I don't even know. I didn't see anything specifically on the New Yorker, but I read a couple of things that bothered the hell out of me.
Specifically on Twitter, since Monday or this weekend, whenever the review of the movie, the official review from the reviewer for the New Yorker came out, everyone's been lampooning this article and specifically the headline of, I don't know if it was the headline or if it was just one pull quote from it that everyone's just been like just crushing this review. You go ahead and talk about what you meant specifically while I find this, so I can read it to you, and you'll see what I mean.
So there is this. I'm going to be vague as possible because we're not going to be in spoiler territory for this here. But there's talk about like the cliffhangery-ness of the end of the movie and how like it was a frustrating thing for these particular people that were writing these reviews that they expected like a close as it was marketed to them of this whole first part of Avengers.
Then they weren't paying attention.
And that's my point. If you were in the know enough to have that take, then you know that 5 years ago when the list of movies coming out was set and it was Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2, like it's not a secret.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Like you don't have to be deep. You don't have to be deep in the weeds on this one. It's been known from the beginning that this was a 2-part story. Like they said it. They've been saying it for literally like 3 or 4 years.
And then there's the other aspect of it is people saying like are a little underwhelmed by their emotional response to certain things that happen because, it probably will get, resolved by the second. And okay, not the point. And this is my opinion, so I could be wrong here. Like, I'm not. Well, no, you can't be wrong, and you can have that opinion if you want. I just don't agree with it. But for me, the end of the whole thing is about the enjoyment of watching these movies and these stories unfold. I mean, it's just a comic book on the big screen. How are we losing sight of this? Why are we tearing this thing apart?
Well,
like it was meant to be an Oscar flick.
A lot of it is new school versus old school, like old school reviewers, and it's funny because I did read an article on The Ringer that addressed the core of that division to a certain extent, like that at least it was part of the conversation, and it was whether or not you can classify any of these Marvel movies as movies, specifically Infinity War, whether or not it's actually really a long-form TV show.
Right.
Because you're right, these movies on their own, some of them more so than others, lack the discrete standalone ability of an actual movie.
Sure.
Because they are installments. It's almost like an anthology series to a certain extent, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it doesn't take that much of a leap of imagination to get in that headspace.
It doesn't.
And people, I saw a big criticism of it. It was like, oh, well, what if I don't want to have to watch every one of these movies to review this? If you are a reviewer, it's your job to do that.
Right. There's that.
And like, no one is saying you have to sit down for that 31-hour marathon.
Mm-hmm.
You had time.
Right.
Even if your starting point was
10 years, like, some might say.
Well, sure, you had 10 years. Like, if you're working as a movie critic, you've been functionally aware of movies for quite some time. Even if you weren't like assigned to do these movies, although you've probably been assigned to do some of them. Admittedly, 10 years ago, maybe you weren't. Although a lot of the people complaining are of the older school variety. So you probably have been working in the field for almost 10 years. But two, even if you took the starting point as when Black Panther came out, you've had 2 months to catch up on all these movies.
Right.
Or at worst, watch like those 10-minute like what you need to know videos. And like you could read a synopsis and like, oh, this one's supposed to be really good. Let me watch that one. These are the quote unquote essential ones. Why don't you do some fucking videos and synopsises and then watch the quote unquote essential ones, the 4 or 5 movies that you like absolutely have to see to understand it? Is that too much to ask to do your own fucking job? Right.
I want to pull on that thread for a second though, of you saying you don't have to see everything. You could just watch it. Like you could take that approach with comics too, because if you want to jump into any sort of interesting topic in a comic book series, it's nobody wants to go all the way back. And you really don't have to in a lot of cases. I was super interested after we watched this. I was on a work trip and I had nothing to read. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to download Infinity Gauntlet. I went and bought it, downloaded the 6 comics, and just dove right in. I didn't have any context for a lot of these characters because I never read Marvel comics. I read some Spider-Man. And like I dove into this and I was within, 5 pages, you lose that disorientation that you have to not understanding the art style fully yet, and like really getting into the character. And then like, okay, now I'm here and I'm reading through it, and I'm like, I'm really enjoying this. And then I'm seeing the influences that happen in the movie, and I'm like, this is really fun. This is fun to pick apart and see like, oh, I see. Like you pulled that from here. One thing that I'm like 3 issues into the 6, so I'm like almost halfway through if I am fully through 3. But Thanos wildly different. Thanos is an incredible character on screen. Like, and this is just really fun. I'm kind of off the rails at this point right now, but I'm just saying like that. The movie is really good, and here like and
it's not perfect.
It's not. And I'm not. I will not argue that at all. Like it's not. It has its flaws, and I know people always love. It's one of those things that I hate to like. I feel like this is just like when you have an argument against a movie, there'll always be this like this paragraph will show up in a negative review of why couldn't they just do X instead of Y? Because it's a movie and you needed a story, and the story was written, and that's how it played out. Like stop. That is. Well, leave that out of reviews going forward, unless you're doing it in a comedic fashion. Let's leave that out.
Well, there's an argument to massive plot holes, stuff like that, where it's stretching your ability to engage in the thing, where it's like it's so blatantly obvious.
Agree. Like this is not that though.
Yeah, sure.
This is not the argument they're making.
Another thing is, I mean, like, I'm not going to go to the New Yorker for a review of Infinity War. No. I'm going to go to IGN or something. You know what I mean? I'm going to go to The Ringer, like people who I know are going to enjoy these movies.
Yeah. And that's
like,
the thing
I'll go to The New Yorker for the review of Mother.
Fair.
You know what I mean? Like,
I will. Oh man, sorry. My mind just went to a dark place, and I was thinking about the reviews that I read on the fandom thread.
Well, I found the thing that I was looking for. So I'm going to read to you. This was picked up by Mashable. The headline of the article is "The New Yorker review of Avengers Infinity War is getting roasted online." Okay. So I will read you the pull quote. It actually has a little bit more of the context that it was in. Here's the crux of Brody's review. This is Richard Brody of The New Yorker. This is the crux of Brody's review that has the internet in a tizzy. Avengers Infinity War would make little sense in the absence of its pack of predecessors. Its characters aren't introduced, they just show up, and their behavior is entirely defined by the template set for them in other movies. Not only does Avengers Infinity War presume that viewers have seen all the preceding films in the Marvel series, but worse, it presumes that they've thought about them afterward.
Okay.
Which, you know what? That would be a valid criticism of the first movie in a series of movies, not the last movie in a series of movies.
It sounds like that would be the valid criticism of Justice League.
Fair.
Not of this film.
I'm going to read you some of the fun things, because the whole point of this one was on Twitter just sunk its teeth into this and just tore at the throat. Like, in quotes, I tuned into the series finale of Breaking Bad, and I'm very confused. Who is Walt? Why should I care about Jesse? These characters are undeveloped, and they just show out of nowhere. I sat down to watch Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, and I was inexplicably meant to know why everyone was after a man with no nose. Is the society nosist? There was no backstory. How am I supposed to know who that boy with the scar even is? Unacceptable.
That is so good. But here's kind of my point. Like
this is this one. You do know how sequels work, right?
That's great. Is that it? Is that the only thing in the comment?
Yes.
Perfection. Let's hire that guy.
The New Yorker is backed by the idea of a sequel.
So here's my point, though. You can. I really enjoy. I like when somebody has the opposing opinion to mine. If they're bringing like logic and experience in the area as well.
Yes, if it comes from an informed place, then yes, that's the basis for an interesting discussion.
And so far, every negative, every review that I've read that was very foul,
negative.
Yeah, is not coming from that place. And it's like, honestly, like, just get out. Like, nobody, like, I don't, like, you can, like I said, like, and I know it's a weird place to be in, right? Because how can you say, like, okay, that's a valid argument? That's also an opinion. It's just I have a hard time with negativity in general. So as you'll know, we talk about a lot of movies. I tend to like everything that we do talk about. I like a lot of stuff. I will generally be positive about anything that we talk about.
Well, we're also
except the Phantom Thread. Well, that's where I draw the line.
Well, there's a difference since we don't serve a master. We don't have direct input from the audience saying, do this movie, or from some larger entity paying us to do a movie. We can cherry pick and say, I want to go watch that movie.
Yeah.
So you're more inclined to enjoy the movie because that's a movie you actively wanted to go and see for whatever reason.
But what was bothering me was I was going down this rabbit hole of reading reviews and reading opinion pieces on this movie, and I was getting to a point where I was having a hard time finding positive ones. And I was like, what? Like, all right, Google, like, I know what you do. Just read my mind a little bit better because I'm not looking for all this crap. And
it sounds like you got lost in the internet.
Yeah, I found the wrong. I clicked the wrong link that started generating worse links for me that just were just not what I wanted. Not even what I wanted. I wanted to hear. I know there's other positive opinions out there. I wanted to hear. This started off with me looking for things that I missed in the movie, and then I clicked on one link that was something that was just bad. Like just like ripping it apart, to which it had some valid points as far as ripping something apart go, but it doesn't apply to this type of movie, in my opinion. Like I said, I earlier, if you're kind of grading it as you would an Oscar movie, you're doing it wrong.
Yes,
that's not what we're here to see.
Also, and it kind of circles back to a lot of the criticism I saw on The Last Jedi, where it's like, okay, you are correct. That is a criticism. That is something that could be criticized. Mm-hmm. But why is that the thing that's making the movie not work for you?
Right. That was another thing that I came across. You're right. That really
it's like saying, oh, I gotta get a new car. My car's not working well anymore. Oh, what's wrong with your car? The gas cap, it just doesn't really seal very well.
Right.
I'm just gonna get a new car. Like, no.
Yeah, I think the line that I had read was something along the lines of, why can't Disney do for why can't Disney do for Star Wars fans what they've done for Marvel fans?
Oh yeah, I saw that too.
And I was just like,
but they did.
What are you talking about? Like, are you either?
Yeah, you know why I saw that? I started following Pablo Hidalgo on Twitter, who is one of the guys who's part of the Lucasfilm Story Group. Mm-hmm. And he bats a lot of these criticisms up to the masses and lets them discuss.
Yeah.
Or in cases where people are trying to call Star Wars out on the carpet, for getting it wrong. He is the guy who is the keeper of the keys. He goes back and searches everything canon and everything that's not canon to see what should and can be included. Mm-hmm. So any people who are complaining about continuity errors or stuff like that, he is the guy who oversees a lot of that stuff. So people will come at him with stuff, and he will send them and broadcast it across Twitter where it was drawn from the actual quote unquote, the secret texts of Star Wars. No, you're wrong. Here it is.
And here's why.
You're wrong, and here's why. Your opinion is a wrong opinion because it's not a fact, even though you're claiming it's a fact.
Right. Your opinion is wrong because it's not one.
Yes.
That's great. There is one thing. This is another terrible thing that you could do on the internet. I'm sure you've seen it too. There was the letter from what's her name, Kathy Kennedy to the Marvel team, and it's it's the letter, and the picture is Rey handing the lightsaber to Iron Man.
Yes.
And I was like, that's wildly charming. I was like, this is really cute. I like that. And then it was 10 comments, and I was like, oh. And I clicked on that. I was like, people are surely going to be positive. And I went into it, it was like, Disney's sucking Disney's dick. And I was like, oh my God, what have I stumbled upon? And it's just going further down. It's like, oh, hi, here's your money. Oh, thanks, me. And I was like, okay, all right, I get it. Enough. And I was just like, let me just go back to that feeling that I had before where I was like, oh, that's a really charming sentiment. Because, yes, Disney, big company, all that, great PR, whatever. Maybe it probably is a publicity thing. But at the end of the day,
it is a publicity thing.
At the end of the day, if you really look at, and here's, if at the end of it is the end of the day because you've watched Infinity War and you stayed through all the credits. There are a shit ton of people that work on a movie, and
yes,
I just think maybe take a second before you say really crappy things. But that, I mean, there's gonna be times where these crappy things may be valid, but think about all the I love to love things. Like, I really enjoy enjoying things. That I don't know how else to put that.
I'll tell you how you put. You're a fan.
Yeah, and it never dawned on me. Like, I never put it into those words before because I was until recently. And here's another thing I love. I love Chris Hardwick. I find him to be fantastic.
I accidentally peeped your notes. I saw that you put something about Chris Hardwick in there. I didn't know what the context was, and I figured I'd let you tell me. I didn't look into anything that he said.
That's fine. And I listened to this podcast that Dak Shepard does called The Armchair Expert, and he just does interviews with people. And they're like, the shows have been like an hour to 2 hours. They're just like these long running. They're sitting drinking like coffee, just in his studio talking, and he's interviewing them. And it's great. It's just like it's normal. It's funny because it almost seems like it's a therapy session for him. That's kind of the vibe that I get from it. Mm-hmm. But he brings on these really interesting people, and there was one with Jimmy Kimmel that I thought was hysterical, and I saw one with Chris Hardwick. I was like, oh, absolutely, I'm going to listen to that one. Downloaded it, and he mentioned that like he's talking about his Talking Dead show, and how like people will be like, oh, you're just saying that because like you never say how bad things are. You're only doing what AMC. He's like, no. He's like, I just enjoying like, and that's exactly like that's when it clicked for me. And I was like, oh, like yes, probably. I do feel like there's got to be something there. I mean, the show is on AMC. He can't be fully, but what he can.
Well, no one's expecting him to come in and burn it down, but he is a little bit too soft of a landing spot.
Maybe, or he's choosing to focus on the positive, which nobody else is doing.
The only reason I say that is because of the market dip in quality of the show in the last couple of years. I didn't feel that way when the show was good.
I agree with that, but at the same time, when I listen to him on Talking Dead, when he talks about the things that he does like, I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't see that in this sea of filth. Thank you. and that's what I'm talking. Like, find it.
So he's like a prospector. He's like a prospector sifting through the crap and finding the little nuggets of gold.
Right, and this is me coming from the angle of, this is like I hate this right now, but I didn't actually hate the last season, but like I hate this right now, and then he'll say something like that, and I'll be like, oh, okay, that's a cool way to think about it. Yeah, that's positive, and then maybe Chris Hardwick might be the reason that I keep watching this show. Like, it's very possible. But anyway, if you get a chance, listen to Dak Shepard's podcast and listen to that one because it's very charming and. I really, really enjoyed it. And it's just more, surround yourself with more positivity is what I'm getting at.
I like Chris Hardwick, and it's why even though I didn't watch it as much as I should have, I retroactively lament that At Midnight no longer is on the air because he was really, really good at that show. He's really good at everything that you know what he is? He's like the nerdy Ryan Seacrest.
Yeah, he absolutely is.
But like way less annoying.
True.
Because you know what it is? Because he seems genuine. Like he enjoys this stuff. He's not just building an empire. He is building an empire because he enjoys the stuff.
You have to go listen to that podcast. I'll send you a link to it. Give it a try. Okay. It's very good. One thing I took a note of here while we were talking, when we abruptly mentioned just DC garbage for a second. Here's a thing that I don't know personally. I feel like we spend a lot of time in the movies. We spend a lot of time talking about the movies. I think we have a valid opinion on this because we want to like the DC movies, but we don't.
No, they've lost me. Now I want to hate them.
Okay. I read this article that said DC streaming service, and I went, "Fuck you!"
Oh, that was one of my nuggets.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't mean to eat one of them.
Wow.
So I just saw that, and I was just like, and the article, the way that it was written, and actually, this is in the Flix magazine. If you want to go check it out, it's actually really silly to read it because it starts off like with this very comical opening about how like, you know, we're cutting the cord, so there's yet another streaming service that you have money to spend on. And it's just like it just goes down this little bit of a rabbit hole. It was really silly, but I was just like, no, absolutely, like no, because the good DC shows are actually free on the CW app. You don't even need to do anything weird to get those. You just download the CW app and watch them.
Well, so this is how I experienced it. The only reason that it was going to come up as a nugget was because I just saw a tweet that was retweeted by someone I follow who's into he covers all of the like the nerdy movie properties, so Star Wars, superheroes, all that sort of stuff. And it was a tweet from the DC Twitter account, and it just said like something along the lines of like DC Universe, like something, and it was like a hashtag, and I was like, fuck no, you're not going to get away with rebranding the DCEU. Like, no. That's what I thought it was. So okay. When I looked up and I found out that that's what it was, I was like, okay, go ahead and have your little thing there. I don't care. I'm not going to buy your service. I'm not going to watch your shows.
Call me when this is over.
People seem to like your shows, even though I think those are crap too. But at least it's good-natured crap.
It knows what it is.
It knows what it is. It is self-aware, unlike the movie versions of what they are.
There is no time when I'm watching Arrow or Flash where I'm not thinking that I'm watching a soap opera.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I can actually get past that. It's just like the effects are so cheesy that it just.
Oh, especially when they bring that giant shark. Whew.
I didn't see the shark.
It gets a little nuts. So just wanted to quickly circle back. So for every negative, I went down that negative Marvel rabbit hole for like an hour, and I was just like, what is happening? Like, and it was at that point where I decided, you know what, I'm gonna throw on Guardians of the Galaxy a little bit later and watch that because that's surely going to rise my spirits back up. But before I did that, I actually started to come out of the hole when I came across these cast interviews with everybody from Infinity War. And man, does that cast have chemistry? Like it's something that on screen.
This is the Guardians cast, or just
all of them together as people in an interview. They just seem to be genuinely enjoying each other's company, and maybe they're actors. Who knows? But it's very fun to watch, and it's endearing. And it was like, oh yeah, this is the thing I like. And then I put Guardians on, and it was the nice cherry on the sundae.
I've seen little clips of some of those things, and like some of the groupings that they had were like the randomest. Like, people who are never on screen together, even in Infinity War. You know
what? They're probably sitting on the side together, waiting for their scenes. Maybe that's how they bond. But there was this cut. It's like maybe 2.5 minutes long of Benedict Cumberbatch stopping Tom Holland from spoiling things.
I heard about that. I didn't watch it.
Really silly. Like somebody will ask, like because the interviewers are trying to get like a spoiler out of them, and it will ask him a question, and Benedict Cumberbatch goes, "I'll take that one." Tom is a lovely person to work with. Like he just completely deflects the question, and you just see his face on the other side, oh yeah, I totally was about to screw this up. Yep. And it's really, really silly.
I heard that Tom Holland is really bad about that sort of stuff. It is factually documented that Mark Ruffalo is bad at all that stuff.
I did not know about that until today.
Yeah.
Share that little story because it's hysterical.
About the thing about him accidentally spoiling the end a year ago?
Oh, no. That's not even what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he spoiled the ending a year ago.
Oh, I saw that in one of the interviews I was watching where he says that I'm not going to say it because we said that we're not doing spoilers. But yep, that was a thing. Very funny. But the one I'm talking about is how he live streamed the first 20 minutes of Thor Ragnarok. So apparently he was outside doing like a live stream on his phone, thought he turned it off and put it in his pocket, went into the theater, 20 minutes into the movie, someone from Disney came up to him and tapped him on the shoulder, and he's like, "Turn your phone off." And he's like, "What?" And then he does he reenacts this whole thing with pure horror on his face as he pulls his phone out and realizes that it's still broadcasting.
Oh no!
I was like, how did I not hear about that until now? But that is fantastic.
It's funny because a lot of times with those premieres, they force everyone to do the Ziploc bag thing, where they have like the safe deposit bags.
Yeah.
When they go into them, because
you probably don't do that to the Hulk.
Well, no, to stop people from doing it maliciously or even accidentally like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's just really silly to me, and I loved it. Love it. I can't imagine that feeling of dread.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I'm streaming the opening of the movie. That's so great. The last thing that I have here on my list is just Deadpool 2's brilliant marketing. So we talked a little bit, I think it was either last 2 weeks ago, we talked about how they're doing the 2-year anniversary DVDs.
Yes.
Which is wonderful.
Yes.
This week, the thing that I had picked up on was the music video. The original song by Celine Dion for Deadpool 2, which is actually a really good song. And it's Celine Dion who gives you 100% every time. And she's on this stage singing the song in the video, and, there's cuts in the background of clips from the movie.
Well, and that song was in the first movie, right?
I don't know about that.
I thought it was.
I think it said. I thought what I was reading said that it was for this movie.
Or is it the trailers for the first one or the second one? This is I Will Always Love You, right?
No. This is an original song.
Oh, I thought it was that song. You know what? I saw it was on, or I put it on for 2 seconds, and I turned the audio off, and I was watching it for just like a minute. I thought that was the song it was.
Oh no, it's a brand new song for this movie, and it's solid. And there's these clips in the background, and they don't really work right with the song, but it is very reminiscent of like Kissed by a Rose with clips of Batman Forever in the background. Like it doesn't actually, like, a good song doesn't actually line up with what's about to happen.
Yeah, I was always a little confused by that too.
And then while she's on stage, Deadpool comes out in high heels and does an interpretive dance.
I heard about that, but I still have not had the pleasure of seeing it.
And it's fabulous. And it ends, and Deadpool gets up from the the back, like where the booth is in an auditorium, and he's like, "That was really great." And he's like, "But we're gonna have to do it again." And she says, "Why?" And he goes, "You're at like an 11," and he goes, "And we need to bring you down to about a 5.5 tops." And he goes, we just don't want to overhype. She's like, and like she's going back and forth with him, like, this only goes to 11, like pointing to her. It's really funny, and you should go check it out. But I'm like, just the fact that they are able to do this and have this reach is just so great. And I'm really excited for Deadpool 2.
Me too.
And the only concern that I have is my expectations are very high.
Well, yeah, considering I went in with somewhat muted expectations for the first time around and ended up very much enjoying it, I'm going into this one with a lot of excitement, and I'm worried it's going to let me down.
Right. I fear that too. And then I keep seeing that stupid trailer with the regular guy parachuting out of the plane, and for whatever reason, it makes me giggle every time.
Yeah.
They nailed that one. That's it for my news stories. Al, I know I stole one of them, but I believe you said you had 2 nuggets for me.
I do. I have one more nugget.
Al's nugget.
So either last week or the week before, I told you that there was some concern that MoviePass was about to implode spectacularly.
Yeah.
Because apparently they've been playing some head games.
Okay.
The CEO, I think, is a little bit of a nut.
But anyway, where this is going.
Well, so I guess I didn't realize. I told you what I had said to you was that I was just seeing like oblique references to people being concerned that it was on its way out, and I wasn't sure what exactly was going on. So apparently, they stopped offering the $10 a month as many movies as you want thing.
Okay.
They ended that completely. And they had some other promotion where you could see a movie 4 times a month, and you got a subscription to like iHeartRadio or something like that.
Okay.
And they said, yeah, no, it's not coming back. Except, yes, it was coming back. They just announced that the hugely popular $9.95 month plan.
9.99.
Well, I just
Yeah, I know.
I was
Quick
reading it wrong. It was the MoviePass website was updated Wednesday to once again offer the deal. The demand for this unlimited package is incredible, and we have a clear path to even stronger growth. The subscription soared since its movie day plan was offered last August. Something about reaching profitability by selling more advertising and selling user data to third parties, of course.
Naturally.
The movie per day offer disappeared from MoviePass's website in mid-April and was replaced with a deal for a free trial iHeartRadio, blah, blah, blah. Days later, a regulatory filing from MoviePass's majority owner Helios and Matheson Analytics said MoviePass has incurred losses since its inception. So the one package being dropped and that earnings report is what was causing everyone to be upset and then and concerned. But apparently they said, no, they just ended it because they wanted to push people to this other subscription. And once the lifespan of that promotion ended, it was canceled and they put back the original offer.
Right.
So it was just to steer people to go and sign up for that if they were looking to sign up then at that point.
Right. Okay. That's fine. I will say with this whole MoviePass thing, I don't think I've ever been a part of something where I was like, this is probably just going to end abruptly at any time.
Yeah.
And
that was what was causing me to drag my feet.
But not just this is going to end abruptly. It's like, this is going to end abruptly, and they're going to be like, you owe us $50. And I'm going to be like, it's probably right. Like, that's, like I might pay it. Like,
well, that was what was confusing.
Like
that was what was concerning me. Is like I was like, oh, I'm going to sign up for this, and then like a week later, it's just going to implode, and somehow I'm going to be on the hook for like the whole year, even though I'm not going to get the whole year.
Right. Right. Well, I pay monthly, so there's that.
Well, whatever. That's why I never even bothered looking into it because it just seemed like there was no chance of it lasting.
Right.
And that story I had didn't have the quote, but I saw another quote when I was looking into the story earlier today that was just like, it sounded like the CEO was basically just like having a laugh at everyone's expense. Like, you guys got all crazy. We were just messing with you. It's back. Don't worry about it. And I was just like, wait, what?
You don't do this well.
Yeah, no.
Oh, my God. It's so stupid. That's it for your nuggets?
That is it for my nuggets, with the exception of the fact that I just want to tease that we have new beers coming up soon.
I'm very excited.
When I see you, well, like 36 hours from this recording or whatever it is, which will retroactively have been before this episode airs, whatever.
Time travel, time stone.
I'm going to bring you the next batch of beers. But I will be withholding one of those beers. Mm-hmm. You will not see that beer. You will not know that beer. You will not even see that beer. We're going to do, when we do the episode that has that beer, it will be one of the episodes we do together. I'm not telling you which one.
Okay.
I'm not telling you what's going on with it. You're not even going to know what the beer is until we're on the air. We're going to have a different opening time because I want you.
You did this once.
Did I do it once?
Yeah, you surprise beard me.
Yes, that's true. I did do it once. We're going to do that. I want you to discover the beer with the audience.
Okay.
Because I think you're going to be so very excited by it. And if by chance you unfortunately have already been aware of or had this beer, I'm going to be very upset. But I think you'll be excited to have
happy
it.
To have it again? Okay.
So
that's exciting. You know, I'm very excited about two things here. One, that sounds intriguing. I love a mystery. Two, you're going to fill up my mini fridge, which is currently sitting right next to me. My new mini fridge, empty. Just no beer in it. And it'll be it's going to be chock full of Flix and 6 future episodes.
I'll be bringing you less beers than I'd like.
That's what I'm going to start calling beers. Future episodes.
Is that like the thing from Parks and Rec?
What's
that? Tom Haverford says, I call eggs future chicken.
Future chickens.
Pre-chickens. Yeah,
Absolutely.
so I think I have 4 or 5 to bring you, but I know I'm going to see you again at the end of the month
Excellent.
for
Excellent.
solo. So
Yeah. So we'll be doing this specialty beer during solo. Got it.
I didn't say that.
Got it. All right.
No, I'm not
Moving.
bringing you that beer for that. No, I'm saying the next
Stop
batch
it.
of beers. That's not what I said.
I know. I'm just trying to trick you into giving me the beer.
Yeah, I'm not
I
going to
thought
do
that was. I thought
that.
that was obvious.
I'm not
Uh,
Tom Holland. I'm not going to do that.
nice. Our flick of the week is Super Troopers 2. Can I get your first impressions of this movie?
My first impression of this movie is that apparently the viewing I went to see was the no trailers viewing. So I may
Huh.
have missed the first 90 seconds of the movie.
Interesting. That's
Well,
odd.
mini spoiler if you haven't seen the movie, just of the first 90 or so seconds of the movie. I walked in and Sean William Scott was on the bus in mid conversation.
Okay, so yeah, you missed a short amount.
That's what it seemed like. But yeah, no, I literally walked into the theater
All,
like
all you missed was
2 minutes
them.
after the show time, so they did not do trailers. It was like the same exact thing as when I went to see It, where it's like, oh no, I'm running late. It's a good thing there's trailers. Nope, fuck you. There's no trailers. You're
Mm.
gonna miss the first minute or two of the movie.
I will say it was just it was them pulling the bus over and then a quick chat outside the bus and then he's on it. So you didn't really miss anything.
That's what I figured because there was a pretty finite amount of how much movie I could have missed
Sure.
unless they started the screening early because it was
Yeah.
literally like it was
This is the
literally
opposite of how this is supposed to work.
yeah, it was like 2 or 3 minutes in like past when the showtime was supposed to be. So I was a
Mhm.
little upset that there was. Usually, I enjoy less of the trailers, but one trailer would have tided me over to get into the beginning of the movie.
I love trailers. Though, yeah, there was a crap load when we saw Infinity War, right?
Yeah, so there was a fair amount,
That movie didn't start until like 1.
including the very offensive Jurassic World
Mhm.
trailer.
I think I got that during no, I didn't because that was the first time I saw that version of it. Ugh, anyway. What did you think of this movie?
I enjoyed it. It was
You did?
funny.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I will say I enjoyed 1/3 of this movie.
That's it.
I didn't find 2/3 of it to be unenjoyable. I just found 2/3 of it to not be for me.
What did you enjoy? Like the first third, or
No.
the second third, or the third third, or
Second
was it?
act, surprisingly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this movie is the opening of this movie made me realize it's one of two things. Either one, I am not the target audience, which is very possible. Like stoners are the target audience.
Sure.
Uh, it just or they just didn't know how to open it. It was either one of those two things
Well,
for me.
they seem to like those funky cold opens. This is the weirdest of them.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just bizarre, and it was like I didn't find it funny. And by the time I finally got into the movie, it felt like I had to sit through like I don't know, 30 minutes of stuff I wasn't interested in. Like it felt like a chore for it to get up and running for me.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's sure, but yeah, it did feel like that first joke, the payoff wasn't worth how long it took to set it up.
Right.
So I would agree with you on that point of it.
Like, and then I found myself for the first maybe I feel like it was about 30 minutes. I was like trying to laugh at things because I wanted to enjoy it, but I just wasn't actually it just wasn't landing for me.
Well, I mean, I will agree. You were right that this, and it's a little uncommon for most comedies. Most of them burn all their best jokes in the first half hour or so.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, you're right. It took its time getting into its full stride.
Yeah.
I thought there was some modest chuckles to the first half hour, but it clearly was setting up plot, which is rare for a comedy. I think that's what it is.
Sure. Yeah, I in hindsight, yes, I could see that. Like, and I think it's weird me not enjoying the first third and last third of the movie as much as I feel like I probably should have. It encourages me to go watch it again.
Mm.
Because I feel like I just might have missed something. Or
Well, now you know what
wasn't
you're getting
landing.
into.
Yeah, so maybe this waiting for this long has maybe my expectations were higher than they should have been, which is also possible.
I'm surprised you said you didn't particularly like the final third. I thought it was all in keeping.
It it just it didn't it just wasn't that funny to me. I don't really I didn't find it particularly interesting. I don't know.
Well, it definitely transitioned from strict comedy to more of an action comedy in the final third.
Right, which I expect them to do bizarre things like that, and that's fine. I will say the thing that worked for me the most was right in the middle.
We're getting into full spoilers. We're just gonna do it.
It's in the trailer, so it's not really that. I don't even have to say that much, but the guys that we know and love are dressed up as Mounties, and they've pulled people over.
Yeah.
And I could have gotten a whole movie of that, and I probably would have been in stitches because
it was funny.
There's clear improv going on during those scenes. Like there's some of it is obviously scripted and then reshot and then adjusted, but you can tell where it just feels, a lot of it feels natural and a lot of it feels like catching the other actor off guard and then having them respond to it, which is just improv, and it's done so well. And there is I'm going to ruin a joke right now. Actually, happiness in the household is is probably one of the funniest things that has happened in a movie in a very long time. And I was floored by that. And it was just so funny to the point where I was like, when I was like full belly laughing during that. And I was like, this is honestly, if none of the rest of this movie is good, it was worth it for this scene. And I still feel that way.
Well, there was two things of like, at the moment in time, it was, the key to life is happiness in the household. And the running thematic theme throughout of it was the Flova Scotia. Mm-hmm. The Flova Scotia jokes. Yep. And just like, not even just the jokes, just the evolution of it over the course of the movie.
Well, actually, let's pause there for a second. I found the Flova Scotia to be funny. I found what they did with it to be funny. I thought they wasted Thorny by sticking him to this piece of this shtick for the almost like pretty much the entire movie.
Yeah, I guess I could see that, except for the fact that two things. One, I think he got a decent amount of screen time in the first one, and they wanted to give the rest of them a little bit more room to shine. And two, he directs all their movies.
Okay.
So, and he's a good director in his own right. He's done a lot of stuff outside of these movies, but he directs all of the Broken Lizard movies. So
that's fair, and that's that's perfectly valid. I did enjoy him a lot in Super Troopers, and I kind of expected to see more of him and more of a. I feel like if you watch Super Troopers and you think about it, for whatever reason, although most people get equal time, and there really is no like main actor as there is in most movies. He feels like it to some degree. It didn't feel that way in this one. It felt very evenly split in this one, I thought.
Well, it's because the cast was a little bit bigger in this, whereas the last one, it was really just all of the group of cops, and then I forget her name, but the girl cop that Rabbit's dating. Whereas in this one, you had to include the three Mounties and the rest of the Canadian contingent as part of the cast, even though they're pushed to the side some, there's still, you need to have room for them to be on screen.
For sure. And I was actually okay with that. I was okay with getting more out of the other characters. I just, it was surprising to me that everything I was getting from him was this long running joke throughout the movie. And I just thought it would have changed up at some point.
Actually, I think my favorite part of how this all ended up manifesting itself with all the permutations of how they altered screen time and who was focused on was the scene towards the end when they jump in the cop cars to race to the finish, and you have Farva in the car with what's his name, Foster.
That definitely brought it back.
When you know what, I realized we've never actually been alone together. Yeah, what of it?
Yeah.
Nothing. I just it's just kind of weird that we. Well, I don't know. I guess I just think all the rest of the guys are a little more interesting. They got a little more going on. Really? Yeah, you still dating that? You said you're still dating that girl?
Yeah.
something like that.
Oh my god. So that was silly. I will say, let's talk about Farva for a second. He was a lot funnier in this one. I thought he was also like the disgusting factor was amplified as well.
Oh, big time.
I've never been more disgusted by M&Ms in my entire life. I never thought that would be a thing I would ever say out loud.
The best part of that scene is the pure incredulity on Brian Cox's face, watching him eat the M&Ms.
The best part's the callback where the guy goes, "You chew pills, but
and you
swallow M&Ms." I'm a complicated guy.
Yeah.
That was funny. And it just, he's Brian Cox's complete, the body acting reaction that he has to that is the disgust that you feel watching it, and it's just really silly.
Well, yeah, the body is like the shocked revulsion, and the voice is just that, I cannot believe what I'm seeing.
Right.
Rodney, why?
Right. Rodney, the callback to Ramrod when he points at the Ramrod. That was also like I found him very funny. I laughed at a lot of things that happened with him that I feel like in the first movie when he was on screen, I was just like, I could do without this character.
Yeah.
With the exception of
he absolutely shines in the first one, in the scene at the fast food place.
Yep.
That is just incredible. I don't want a large Farva. I want a goddamn liter of cola.
You guys do that here?
That was good. And that was the thing. A lot of times when they do joke callbacks to an older movie, especially like when I think about a movie that waits too long to come out with a sequel, when you have something like Anchorman and the second Anchorman, a lot of times it's so overdone, or they try to make the joke bigger and better, even though it's the same joke and it just falls flat.
Right. Instead, they just do it subtly.
Yeah, they did it. Most of them were pretty subtle, and it was perfect. They just nailed it. Like the large Farva, it just went, "Oh, do you want a liter of cola? Wait, you do that here? Yeah. Well, yes, I would. You know what I mean? Canada's not so bad. You know, or when. Let's get into spoilers because now we're getting into some more specific things that are bigger. So we have spoilers here for this movie. When Rabbit and Mac, I think it was Rabbit and Mac go to the strip club, and they get attacked by all the, or I guess it was the bordello. They get attacked by all the hookers.
Yep.
Both male and female. And he goes, oh my god, this and that. We're getting attacked. There's so many of them. Well, all the glitter, and Thorny goes, glittering and glittering and.
That was good. The counter to that, counter to the callbacks that were subtle, was the Jim Gaffigan one was on the nose, and it was not that funny.
Yeah.
And obviously not all the jokes are going to be a hit.
Well, it saved itself at the end and even though it was in the trailer, the whole thing. Shit, he can hear us? We've been doing this for years. And then they steal his car.
Yes.
And he says at the end, oh, yeah, you should never leave your keys with a stranger. Also, I knew who you were the whole time. I knew
the whole time, yeah. But, okay, well, then going back, since we're in spoiler territory, to happiness in the household. They said it over and over again so perfectly that, no, I had no idea where he was going with it.
Well, the thing is, I figured out the happiness part pretty quickly. I just could not figure out the household thing.
Right. But then what the icing on the cake, though, is after he has the guy explain to him what he was hearing, his full body reaction, no! And he, like, freaks out.
The rage.
That was so funny. I love that. And that was the scene, that's the scene that I remember most in the movie. And here's what I'm talking about. There's a good thing in even if you don't fully love something, just find the stuff that you like and hold on to that. Because that scene is funny. And it is totally worth me picking up the movie for. Like, I'll probably buy this. And I will watch that scene over and over again.
Well, I mean, because you got a pretty good sampling of those, shenanigans during the first one. But having just a montage of all of them, like, having it, like, distilled down like that into like a 5-minute thing, like you truly appreciate how ridiculous the shit they were doing was.
Yeah.
Like the blind cop and the deaf cop.
Yep. I actually forgot about that. When he's crossing the street and the guy gets out of the car to save him because he thinks he's gonna get hit by a car. Oh, that's too funny. But yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, that was like all during this whole pull. Like that's what I mean. I can get a whole movie out of these pullover scenes, and I would have been content like that if that's all this was. But
also speaking of shenanigans, I love that was actually one of the more subtle-ish callback jokes, because there's the whole thing with doing all these shenanigans in the first one.
Yeah.
And then Captain O'Hagan says, if one of you says shenanigans one more time, I'm going to pistol whip you.
Yep.
And he goes, hey, Farva, what's the name of your favorite restaurant? You know, the thing with all the things on the wall? Oh, shenanigans. And they all pull the pistols out and give it to him. And he put those things away. And then in this one, they go to the Canadian version of shenanigans, chicaneries.
Yep. That was good. The other scene or sequence that was just really silly was the drugs. I know it lasts with the Flova Scotia for the rest of the movie, but the whole not knowing what they each took, and then it's Mac and
Mac and Thorny are trying to figure it out.
Is it Mac and Thorny? Yeah. They're trying to figure out what each one of them is doing, and Farva that was good. Farva sitting there in the chair like that.
Yes.
And that was really silly. And then they hitting him with was a phone book.
Yeah, I think so.
Slapping him across the face and just like swing, like that was really silly. The whole thing was silly. What did you take? Pure acid. You have 1,247 mustache hairs.
Actually, I have to count it. You know what?
For my birthday.
I'm so messed up right now. I can't even tell if you're telling me the truth right now. Although I will say a little bit of a flaw in the plan. They probably should have taken those pills one at a time, not all at the same time.
Yep.
The fact that any of them was rational long enough to be able to figure out what they were all taking.
Yep.
Truly incredible.
The steroids.
Yeah.
Just doing push-ups in the middle of the room. That was
okay. The energy, uncontrolled rage. I'm pretty sure he's on steroids.
Yeah. Right. Oh, what about the shock when they shocked Fuck Radio?
That was a good running joke. See, they fleshed out the actual pranks on each other better in this one, because they kept like talking about it in the first one, but it was just like Farva fucking up the joke by putting like soap in the coffee.
Right.
Like it was just like that's
good rookie.
Like it's not a prank, Farva. Like, you just put soap in his coffee.
Part of that scene is Brian Cox just biting the soap.
Yes.
Just great and spitting it out.
But yeah, no, I love that when he's like, what's taking them so long? Yeah, don't worry. You think this is gonna kill him? Probably not. As he hooks up the fucking thing, and he gets. Can I get a radio check? As he gets shocked, and then he's trying to figure out how to touch it with he had the glove on.
It was an oven mitt.
Yeah,
it's so stupid. What did you? I gotta say that with the actual like Mounties in the movie, the one I think his name is Will Sasso. Yeah. His accent was just hard to deal with.
Well, the problem is some of them it was like coming and going.
His was too over the top and forced that it was.
Yes.
But I will say that did seem intentional.
Yes, I believe
it just wasn't that wasn't funny for me. Like that type of thing isn't funny for me. But as annoying as that was, the whole Danny DeVito shtick,
that was hysterical.
It was amazing. That was that was a very clever joke, I thought.
Yes.
And just holding on to that, like, and I think they call that back by the end at some point, right? I feel like they referenced it again.
I forget. But I think my favorite part about it was the third guy realizing how ridiculous he was and then getting in on the joke.
Yeah. He's like, they're the same people. And then he's like, oh, I know. He's like, but he doesn't know that I know. And I'm screwing with him for that. Yeah, I really like the villain.
He thinks I am an
second
idiot.
Batman movie, the Penguin. That was Donnie DeVito also. Oh man, that was a very silly thing. Them.
Oh, and when we were being on like the Canadian thing, I thought they used just the right amount of Rob Lowe.
Yep, that's fair.
I think any less, and I would have been like, oh, like Rob Lowe's funny. Like you could have included him a little bit more, considering he's like in the movie here from start to finish. But any more, and it would have just become a Rob Lowe movie, and it would have upset the balance of everything.
If he had pointed to somebody and called them by their full name the way that he does Ann Perkins, I would have lost it. That would have made his character for me. I didn't. It wasn't overly surprising that it was him. That was the bad guy.
Well, I do. Yeah, no. Well, the thing is, I think they did execute a pretty decent twist to a certain extent, because it would have been easy for them to just do the thing where it's the Mounties, or even the Mounties in conjunction with him.
Right.
Considering the Mounties didn't really have a leader, and in the first one, it's the whole police department, spearheaded by the captain. So he could have been, the de facto like replacement to that character. But I did like that they did this whole thing where it was like they were, oh well, in my experience, it's always the local police. They just keep like hammering it. Yeah. Well, we don't really have any other leads. It's got to be them. And then in the end, it's not, and they have to work together. I thought that was fairly well executed, all things considered.
That was funny. What also was good about that is what they were actually doing was like really clever. the whole, we're gonna put drugs here so that when the borderline changes, they're there.
Yeah, like the passive smuggling angle was pretty clever.
Yeah, I like that. That was funny. The Fred Savage joke that was the long running school bus joke.
I got to a point where I like, wow, they're really not going to tell us what happened.
Oh, I knew it was coming in the credits. It was the same thing with Farva and the school bus.
With Farva and the school bus?
So there's this long running joke in the first one of like why Farva's on the radio. And it's because he's not allowed to be out on the street because of the school bus incident.
Oh,
and during the credits, they give you the school bus incident where basically he gets on there and he gets thrown out of the back of the school bus by the kids that are beating him.
Yeah.
Which was, even that was underwhelming. This one was even more underwhelming to me. It was like, you see it coming from a mile away because he's standing in the street for 20 minutes before the fire truck comes.
Well, once it hit that, because that has been a thing in a lot of different movies.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought he was going to fall out of the tree. In which case, well, the thing
that that would have been funny. Like, I actually think I would have preferred that if he fell out of the tree and died falling out of the tree.
Even though they telegraphed that as well. No, I'm really good at climbing. I did my own stunts. Like,
yeah. But anyway, that just seemed like it was a big build up and not much payoff. But I will continue to think about the silly Mountie scene. That really drove it home for me.
Also, and like the inciting incident to that whole thing, with like them locking them in with a hockey stick, of course.
Oh, naturally.
With the bear.
Yep.
Pretty good, yeah. Especially the way it all goes down. The whole thing. Well, actually, it was funny. The one sole bit of bonding before the actual, ending, the climax of the movie. Oh, he's the rookie. You have to shave his balls.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, no. It's a tradition in Canada. You must shave the rookie's balls, And then the way they execute it was very subtle. These nickel-plated the handcuffs are not working. Oh, let me try. Click, and then you're like, oh, yeah, okay, they're gonna shave his balls. Great.
Yep.
And he's the last person to know. Like everyone there and the audience.
Well executed.
Also, the prank within a prank, because the rare instance where they include Farva in the prank.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just so they can prank Farva as well and electrocute him again in the locker.
So stupid.
Goddamn Canadian electricity or Canadian wiring, whatever it was.
Oh my god. Oh, also the way that scene ends with Farva out in the porta potty.
Yeah.
Who has the shotgun, and is it Bill Cox? He's gonna shoot him. He's like, I'm gonna shoot. You're gonna shoot the bear? No, I'm gonna shoot Farva.
Yeah. Oh, good idea.
Yeah,
it was O'Hagan and Mac.
The how about the Lonnie Farva
dynamic? The Farva clone?
That was great. And when they bump into each other at
the recognition, the moment of recognition,
that is really funny.
Well, the great thing was I didn't expect there to be another Farva.
Mm-hmm.
When she's like, he's like, everyone's got that person you work with who, drives you nuts and you hate them. Oh, yes, I know this very well. But no, she knows. It's the exact same fucking person, but Canadian.
That was very silly. Also, when you see him in the office, he's got the same coffee line from that Farva has in the beginning.
Oh, did he?
Of the first movie. Yeah, he comes back and he's like, anybody want cream? And he's chewing the gum and he's like, yes. All right. And he like swoops back out of the scene. Like he's poking his head out from the side. And that was funny because it was like exact mirror of that. That's fun.
Well, I mean, that's what, you have some of the callbacks and the through line jokes and this and that. And I saw some criticism like, oh, well, I feel like the first one, it's that's the first one again, but they make some tweaks, this and that. It's a more consistent, refined version of the first movie.
I don't know if I agree with that.
To a certain extent. I mean, they added enough.
I did watch the first one like a couple of days before I saw the second one. Yeah. And I will say that I like the first one better.
Okay.
And I think the pacing and the character interactions of the first one are consistently entertaining compared to the second one.
See, I like the interplay because these guys can do it in their sleep now. That was the first movie they made. They've done like 6 or 7 of them together now. Although I've only seen this and the first one and Beer Fest. I've never seen their other movies. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna have to go and catch those eventually.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I wasn't a huge Super Troopers fan to begin with, but when I rewatched it, I enjoyed it a lot more than I remember liking it. I still wouldn't say like it's like not a top for me. Like it's not like a top comedy or anything like that. I actually think if I'm remembering it correctly, I believe I liked Beer Fest a lot more.
I mean, I enjoy Beer Fest more as well.
But this one I would put below Super Troopers, below the original.
You know what I will say is something I enjoyed about this one. There's more Cox.
Yep.
Brian Cox, that is.
Yep.
I'm a big fan.
I knew it. Weirdly enough, didn't even consider that to be a joke. I just knew you were talking about him. That's weird. That's funny. All right, go on.
I enjoy him as an actor in general. He's good even when he's good because he knows what he's doing in this and he's not taking himself seriously and is just having fun. Like you can tell he enjoys doing this. I remember seeing when they first launched like the Indiegogo campaign to fund this movie and all that sort of stuff. Like it was just the guys because they're together. They do all their stuff together. And then eventually they released the video of Brian Cox saying he was coming back to do it. And like, you could just tell he enjoys hanging out with these guys doing this. Like, that's fun. Like he has fun just fucking around with these guys. It's great. And yeah, he has just cause he has a couple of really great one-liners in the first one. And they just gave him a little bit more room to like walk around and have fun in this movie. Like especially when he's getting on Farva's case is just incredible.
Absolutely. He's a gem.
He is. He's just funny. It's funny because most of the first couple of things I'd seen him in were more serious roles, like action movies, this and that, or this bad guy in one of the X-Men, this and that. And like I thought he did a good job in all those things.
Sure.
Never pegged him for being much in the way of a comedian. But his just timing and his delivery, especially like that, like I said, that just like incredulity, like how can you be that fucking stupid?
Yeah. Why?
Yeah, it's the why.
Yeah. Oh man, that scene is so stupid. Oh man. Cool. You got anything else?
Um, did you know who the Vermont governor was? I
Sloan?
realized what?
Sloan?
No,
Who
Sloan. Was that her name in the movie?
No.
Jessman, I think, is the name.
I'm
Yeah,
looking,
Governor Jessman.
I'm looking up to see if I'm thinking of the right character. What's her name?
Governor Jessman.
Jessman. Linda Carter. Oh, no. Sorry. I'm thinking of somebody else. Huh.
I didn't realize it was Linda Carter.
Wonder Woman. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's kind of funny.
yeah, I had no idea because I mean it's the same. She was in the first one as well, and I didn't realize it was her then.
No. Definitely not. Definitely didn't pick up on that. That's cool. I
Yeah,
was thinking of when I said Sloan, I was talking about the person that we think is she's like who is she? Like the mayor, the one like the liaison.
yeah,
Oh, you didn't watch Entourage, did you?
no,
Okay, I believe she was in Entourage and her name was Sloan.
she was Sloan.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was thinking of.
I looked it up because I thought she seemed familiar. Although that wasn't. Oh no, what I recognized her from was she was in that one of those bad Adam Sandler movies. You Don't Mess with the Zohan.
Mm,
She was the girl in that.
gotcha. Right on, right on. Sweet. Anything else? Where?
I don't think so. The only other note I had, and I just touched on it briefly before, was just about Jay Chandrasekhar being a good director. I was looking at his stuff because I knew he had directed stuff that I've seen before. I remember seeing his name pop up on like an episode of a TV show once before, and I was like, "Oh, really?" Like I didn't realize. And then I went and looked at it, and it's like he directed way more things than I thought. He directed a bunch of episodes of The Goldbergs.
Oh.
He's directed a bunch of episodes of New Girl, or Royal Pains, which I didn't watch. Community, he did a bunch of episodes.
Oh, damn.
Uh,
Man, Community used to be such a funny show.
Psych.
Chuck.
He did a bunch of episodes of Chuck. Blue Mountain State. That one made more sense. That one I was like, oh yeah, I could definitely see that.
Oh, the Dukes of Hazzard, that movie?
Yes, he did Arrested Development.
That makes sense. Very cool. Nice.
Pretty talented director.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
Which I don't expect when I think of director of Super Troopers.
Right.
For instance,
right.
you know what I mean?
Which
Like
is like valid, I feel like, but very cool. Awesome. Good for him.
I gotta check out their other movies. Though. I
agree.
I saw a bit of was it the Slammin' Salmon? Was that the one where they're the waiters in that restaurant? I saw like the first 10 minutes of it.
I think I saw a bit of Club Dread, but not all of it.
Okay. And actually, I think the one I was
just watch that.
I think the one that I was just talking about. Actually, he didn't even direct it. For some reason, Kevin Heffernan directed that one. The guy who plays Farva.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was the only one of theirs that he did.
Oh, okay. Sweet. Well, that's it for episode 45 of Flix and a Six. We hope you enjoyed it. If you want to keep the conversation going, I'm at AEJ Costanzo on Twitter and Instagram. Al is at AlessandroB1187. Be sure to check our Flipboard magazine, FLI6, to follow the stories we cover, and check back next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, cheers.